Hello, it's Ryan here from RLF Vacuum Cleaners in Lakenheath, and today we're going to be doing some electrical diagnosis on this DC power supply. This is a fairly old DC power supply. We picked it up in an auction as spares or repairs as it wasn't working, and hopefully by the end of the video we'll go through the diagnostic steps and get it up and running. We've already plugged it in and found that there's no power, so first of all we're going to start with the basics. Start with a fuse. Fuse is always the most awkward one, because if you don't check it, it's usually the fuse. If you don't check it and just dismiss it, then hey. Fuses very rarely blow, but sometimes they do blow, and that causes you a lot of headaches, because if you dismiss it, it's always the fuse. So first of all, I'm going to fire up my multimeter and check the fuse. Right, I've just got the multimeter out. I'm going to check this fuse. So I'm going to turn it to continuity on this particular one. Change it to the one with the little wavy lines, and you press the range button and it changes it to continuity. We'll just tap that together. Yep, so we know we're good. Now we've got to try and do this one-handed, which is always going to be a bit awkward. Try and get this in shot. So the fuse is good. So we'll just put that back in there like that. The fuse is good. We then move down the chain. So we start at the plug. Next we'll check the cable. Unfortunately, the cable on this one is hardwired into the machine, so we'll have to take this cover off, take it off, and then we'll check the cable. We'll be able to check the power switch on the front, see if that's good, and then after that, well, we'll get to that. But if it's not the cable or the power switch, we've then got start getting a bit technical, but I'll explain later. And we're back again. I've just undone the 8 screws, 4 on each side, and lift this cover off like so. Got to be careful because you've got that earth lead there. Don't want to rip it off. The basics in here, pretty basic really. So first of all, this machine's also got a glass fuse on the back, so we'll have that out and check it. Unscrew it like so. Right, and we're back again. This particular glass fuse looks reasonably good, but I have had glass fuses where they look intact and they are in fact busted. So we'll grab our meter probes and just tap them on like that. So we know that that fuse is good, so we'll put that back in the machine, like so, just as long as they go in, they don't come undone easily, don't graunch up to 10 tons of force. Right, next thing to check is the cable. So what we'll do is put a little crocodile clip on the live pin like so. Ooh. If you put that on the live pin, wasn't it? Yes, it's definitely on the live. Ooh. That might be the issue there. Got no continuity on the live pin. So we had live on the fuse. We've got no continuity on the live. And the neutral pin like so. And we'll pry blue wire on here, gently pull that back a bit. So probing the neutral, which is good. We'll just do the earth, just in case, then we'll touch on the earth stud here. So we'll just double check something. We'll put the pin or the probe or the clip back on the live like so. We'll just probe this again, make sure we're not missing something, but obviously in fault finding you really ought to be as thorough as possible. The more thorough the better. because obviously you want to check everything a couple of times just in case you miss something. But yes, we're getting no continuity on the live, so I reckon we're going to want a new cable. The problem with this machine is a new cable issue, so let's see what cable we got here. This here is a, usually you stamp it on the cable somewhere. Ah, here we are. Don't know how well that's going to focus. Is it going to focus? Ah, there we are. It's a 3-core 0.75mm squared. And we're back again. Managed to find a 3-core 0.75mm length of cable. This one here is 3 meter long. But having a look at this, you can see that the fuse carrier has been soldered on. What we could either do is we can cut the wires about, well, with a good length on about here, check for continuity onwards, and use a Wago 221 inline connector. So what we'll do is we'll check the switch, make sure that's good, and we'll cut the wires. So there's a decent enough length on them, probably about, yeah, a good 3 or 4 inches. Same with the earth, we'll cut the earth of a good length. So there's a good length on it. Check for continuity, check the switch, and then we'll put our new piece of cable in and use some of these Wago connectors. Wago 221 inline connectors. Just to splice it all together. Back in a minute. And we're back again. So we're just going to check the switch. Make sure it's turned on. Yep, so that side is good. Then we'll check this side. And we'll turn it off, see if it works. And then check none of the other pins are conducting, so they're all good. So all that is left to do is to cut these wires off out here, give us plenty of length to play with, and then we'll give everything a good double check over, make sure everything, all the wiring in here all looks good, and we'll wire the new cable up. So we're just going to use our basic snips to basically snip the wires off like this. Make sure when you cut the wire like this it's always unplugged. Safety first, as always. Nothing worse than cutting through a live wire. It's a bit of a pain in the arse trying to do this one-handed. But there are simple, all 3 wires are cut off. We'll just loosen the cable gland and screw it out like that. Boom, pull the old cable out. And we will strip a good few inches of outer insulation off. So what we'll do is we'll get our Knipex cable stripper, Knipex ergostrip. Highly recommend one of these, brilliant tool if you're doing a lot of this sort of work. Right, and we're back again. Using this cable stripping tool, what we've done is we've gently scored around the outer insulation, and let's cut through the outer. And all we have to do is, doing this one-handed, is push the outer insulation off, like so. I don't know how well this will come out on camera, but you can see not a mark on the inner ones. Bloomin' lovely. If anyone's ever wondering how the tool does it, you just open it up like that. Got a couple of little bits in there, scoring blades in there. Put the cable in like that, grip it down, twist a bit, and it cuts it off. Good thing about this tool is you can use then this other side, depending on what size of wire you're using, to strip the inner wires. But we won't do that. We'll put the cable through first, then we'll strip it, and then we'll use the Wagos to connect it all together. Right, and we're back. Cable ends are all stripped. Anybody who's ever used a Wago before, don't know how well the camera will pick this up, That little level on there is your strip length, so it tells you how much wire to strip off. And the fitting is nice and easy. You lift these levers up and you just push. Give it a bit of a tug, make sure they're nice and tight. You very simply I'll be back in a moment because it's a bit fiddly with one hand, but we'll be back when we're done. And we're back. And we got these wires lovely and connected up nice and tight. So all we have to do is put these wires back onto the switch. Doesn't matter which way around they go, as long as the two colours are on top of each other. Brown like that. And then down the bottom. Blue and red. It's important to get the polarity right, otherwise when you turn it on, we basically shorten the main tail, which never ends well. Quick check over, make sure everything looks good. We'll just put the cover back on, because there will be mains 240 electric in here. Just put the cover on. And then what we'll do is, we'll get our probes, plug them into the front and see what we get coming out. So I'll get everything ready and I'll be back shortly. Just one thing to mention before we plug it in. The original appliance had a 3 amp fuse in it, but the new cable we found had a 5 amp fuse in the plug. So we're just going to swap that over. Put your 3 amp fuse, red is always your 3. Put your 3 amp fuse into the plug, make sure we're nice and safe, because obviously we don't want to make it any less safe. Plug that in like that, turn it on, and as we can see the power switch lights up. So what we'll do is we'll get our probes or our clips and we'll plug them into the front. We'll cut off the 5 volt, 0 volt, 5 volt. We'll plug them into our probes. So the volt which we should be getting out of this should be very close to 5 volts, because we've got it set up on the 5 volts. As you can see, we're just getting just over 5. What we'll do is we'll put that into the 12 volt, get 12 volt like that. Put that into your 15 volt, getting a bit under 15 volts, so it's close enough. And then put it into your -5, so get a -5. Put it into your negative 12, getting to 12, and a -15. And now we can go up the voltage. So if we do 15 and 15, you should get 30. 15 and 12, 26. 15 and 5, 19. And we go 15 and 0. Yeah, so that's all tested correctly. So that is another repair. So what we'll do is we'll whop it on the pet tester, make sure everything's doubly good, and that'll be repair done. So we've got it plugged into the appliance tester. We'll just do a quick 500 volt installation test. Yes, we're all good. And we'll just do a quick earth test. And that's a good earth. So yes, that is safe to be plugged in, so we'll plug that in, plug it into the wall. So yes, that is the repair of the new cable for our DC power supply. Now all tested and working, so we'll be able to put that on the shelf and use that whenever we need some DC voltage. If you like the videos, like, comment, subscribe.